There's a moment I keep coming back to. I'm standing at the entrance of a building with Bourbon. He was happy walking up to that door, tail up and ready. And then we stepped inside. There were other dogs near the entrance, and I felt it before I can name it. His body changed, but not enough, but just a little, but enough. He went from confident to smaller, his head lowered, his ears flattened, and he paused. And I remember standing there, not quite sure what I was seeing. And from the outside, it probably didn't look like much. In fact, somebody who watched us for a moment said, just pick him up and carry him in. And for a second, that felt like the solution. Just get through it, keep moving forward. But something in me hesitated because I wasn't looking at the same dog who had happily just walked up to that door. And if you've ever stood in a moment like that, where you felt something was off, but you couldn't quite name it, you're not wrong. And that feeling matters. And today, I want to tell you why. Because here's what I've come to understand. Most of us have been taught to look for the wrong thing. And once you see what to look for instead, you can't unsee it. And everything about the relationship changes. So let's start with most of us believe. The myth goes something like this: if your dog is calm, they're okay. If they're moving forward, they're comfortable. If they're doing the thing, sitting when asked, walking through the door, staying quiet, that's progress. That's success. And honestly, that makes sense. We believe this because we're taught to look for obedience. We measure obedience. We reward obedience. The dog moves forward, we breathe a little bit easier. But here's what that belief misses entirely: calm isn't always peace. Sometimes calm is just a dog trying to survive that moment. A dog can move forward and still feel completely scared and alone in that moment. A dog could be quiet and be overwhelmed. They can look like they're doing well and using every bit of energy they have just to cope. And we walk away thinking, great, we got through it. They did the thing. But they didn't get through it with us. They got through it alone, and we were only watching. That's the thing I wish somebody had told me sooner. Obedience and behavior are what you see. State is actually what's happening. And when we only track obedience or behavior, we miss the conversation that's already taking place, the one your dog is already having through their ears, their eyes, and their posture. The small shifts that happen before anything becomes a problem. Bourbon's head lowered just a little, his ears flattened, and he paused. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would stand out to most people. But once I learned to see it, I can't unsee it. And that's the shift I want to offer you today. Now, here's the changes when you start looking at state instead of behavior. You stop asking, is my dog doing the thing? And you start asking, is my dog with me? They are two very different questions. And the second one changes everything because the dog who is with you isn't just moving forward. They're moving forward and they're checking in. Their body is soft and relaxed. Their soft eyes find yours. And there's a quality of ease in how they carry themselves. Not because nothing is hard, but because they trust that you're paying attention. A dog who is coping looks different, maybe just slightly. A little more rigid, a little more stiff, eyes that scan instead of settle or avoiding eye contact, yawning when they're not tired, panting when it's not hot, slow or hesitant movements, always seeming to be on alert when out in public, and a pause that lingers a bit too long. Small things, easy to miss. But here's what I've learned: those small moments are the moments that matter the most. Because what happens in those moments, whether you notice and respond or whether you keep moving, that's when your dog is learning about you. Not commands, not training sessions. Whether you'll really see them when things feel hard, whether you'll slow down for them, whether they can trust you to have their back. And this brings me back to something I want to sit with you for just a moment. Because what I almost did that day, picking Bourbon up and carrying through the door, it wasn't cruel. It wasn't even wrong in the obvious sense. We would have gotten through the door. He would have settled eventually, but I would have missed the moment. He didn't need to see me get him through the door. He needed to see me, have him see me at the door, to pause with him, to let him know I'm here, I've got you, and we can figure this out together. That's the moment that mattered, not because of what came after, but because what was built in that moment between us. And I've thought about that moment a lot since then. And I've asked myself, how many times did I miss it before I knew what to look for? How many times did I see a dog moving forward and call it good, when really they were just trying to cope or being brave alone? And the truth is, I can't go back and answer that. But what I can tell you what I do now is when I'm not sure what I'm seeing, I don't just look at the behavior. I look at the dog in front of me and I watch three things: their eyes, their ears, and their posture. And I ask myself two questions: is the dog with me or just moving forward? Do they feel safe or are they figuring it out alone? That's it, the whole audit. And you don't need to be an expert to do this, but you need to just start noticing. Because here's what I know now, what I didn't know then. Your dog is learning something every single time you interact, not just cues, not just commands. They're learning whether they can trust you, whether you'll listen when they're unsure, whether they have to handle the hard moments alone, or whether you're someone who slows down and sees them. And when you become that person, when you start catching the small moments before they become the big one, something shifts. The relationship stops feeling like management and it starts feeling like partnership. So here's what I want to leave you with. We started today with a myth that calm means comfortable and that moving forward means moving forward together. And I hope you can see now why that's not always true and why it matters. The goal was never to just have a dog who complies. The goal is to have a dog who trusts, a dog who checks in because they want to, who follows your lead not because they've learned to cope with uncertainty alone, but because they've learned that you see them. That's a relationship that doesn't require constant management. That's one that feels easy, natural, and right. And it starts with a single shift in what you're looking for: not obedience or behavior, but state. Not are they doing the thing, but are they with me? So the next time you walk into a new place together, the next time your dog pauses or stiffens or goes a little quiet, try this. Stop. Watch their eyes, their ears, and their posture. And ask, are they with me right now? Do they feel safe? And if the answer is no, don't push through. Pause with them. Reconnect. Let them know you see them. That moment, that small, quiet moment, that's where trust is built. Not in the big training sessions, not in the perfect recall or the flawless heel, in the pause at the door, the choice to slow down instead of push through, in being the person your dog can come back to when the world gets loud. What would change if you start looking for state instead of just behavior? You might notice what you've been missing. You don't just move forward, but you move forward together. And if this feels familiar, if you've had that moment where something didn't quite feel right and you're not sure what to do, you're not alone. And you don't have to figure it out alone. We won't hurt your dog, not even their feelings. And I'd love to be a part of what comes next for you and your dog.